What is up, beautiful YouTube world? Kelly, did I see that you're making popcorn? Hold on, I gotta turn the comments on. There we go. There we go. I can't see the phone, but let me know if you guys can hear me. We're using the standard microphone today, which is my video recording microphone. Hopefully it works better. Waz is on here from Tasmania, Australia. It's 11 a.m. Sunday morning. How cool is that? Kelly just had dinner with Addison. Can you guys hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Katie, I need you. Katie, I need you. You need to be the camera person. Changing roles here. Can you guys hear me? Yes? I think you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. Oh, thumbs up from Kelly. That is perfect. Well, radio test is done. Yesterday we spent a very large portion of the day yesterday doing the radio test prep, and today we did the actual radio test. We had lots of people here to help. Logged a whole bunch of kilometers, a whole bunch of miles, and it was a lot of work, and the results are very surprising. Very surprising. I don't want to tell you guys anything specific. Wednesday's video is going to be the radio test video. Tomorrow is going to be the Super Bandit. I'll just say this, many people are going to be very butthurt about this video. There's going to be some manufacturers that are not happy with the results, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. We didn't obviously plan any results. There was no manipulation of anything. It was purely just to gather the evidence, gather the results, and every radio was under the same criticism or same conditions. And some performed amazing, some performed way worse than we thought, like disappointingly worse, and some were just okay and average. But it was kind of, Ward's here as well, he helped with the test. If I was to sum it up, I would say there wasn't a whole lot of in between. It was kind of, the radios either did okay and did very well, or they did terrible. There wasn't a lot of in between. So yeah, go ahead.
Let's just say one of the test results we redid because we were shocked.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, that can't be right.
Yeah,
something was wrong there. We got to redo it. We redid it, exactly the same results the second time.
Yeah. So as Katie said, we thought that there was something wrong. So we ended up redoing the test, and it was the identical results. Nothing changed. So yeah, it's surprising. So we'll leave it at that. It's been 2 weeks since we did a live, and last weekend, got Nez hairs on me like normal. Last weekend we were at the Lethbridge field. What a beautiful club. The runway, I think, is like 2,000 feet of runway. They had manicured like 1,200 feet for us, golf green style grass for that 1,200 feet, and it's all irrigated, just beautiful. So we got 5 flights on the Strega, 2 on the Friday, 2 on the Saturday, and 1 on the Sunday on the last day. We weren't going to go back flying on Sunday, but the weather was just immaculate. So we went back and got a bunch more flights in, which was awesome. So that was last weekend. We're supposed to be at an event this weekend. The weather was kind of questionable, and I know we needed to get this stuff done. So that's what we did today. Radio tests pretty much all day. So yeah, I'm excited to share the results with you guys. So yeah, it's, but I won't share it on here. We'll share it on Wednesday. So Thanks for tuning into the live, guys. If you have any questions,
About the radios.
ask away. Don't ask about the radios because I'm not going to tell you. We got Katie behind the camera. Ward's here helping out. Katie and Ward both helped out with the radio test, which was awesome. Nez is over here sleeping like normal. We did get a harness for Nez. And we also put together some leashes there. So now we clip her into the harness and the leash, and we can open the door, and she goes and runs around and chases bugs, and it's good. And then she tires herself out. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you guys have questions during this live, ask away. Katie will refer the questions to us. And what else? I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah.
Do it, Dennis?
They want to know what happened on the radio test.
Well, can't tell you.
Top secret information.
Well, I'm not going to tell you, but I'll give you a hint. The radio that everybody thought was going to win did pretty much the worst.
Practically giving it away.
No, I don't think that gives it away, but the radio that everybody thought was going to win performed terrible. So we'll leave it at that. So we're working.
You have a ward, so that makes you Batman.
This is my Robin. I think Robin's supposed to be younger. He's more like the guy that makes the stuff. What's his name?
The butler.
The guy that's in the cave. All right, guys, so we are working on the Super Bandit still. Tomorrow's video is the Super Bandit. Tomorrow's video is obviously way behind what we're actually working on now. So tomorrow's video is the wings we got installed, the wing supports and everything. That was a huge step. We did the air brake in tomorrow's video, and we started on the front canopy in tomorrow's video. So that's basically tomorrow's video. I've said that many times. The next video, which will probably be next Sunday maybe, is the stuff we're working on now. So we've spent a whole bunch of time, probably about 10 hours over the past 3 days, just working on the canopy and the hatch. And we just finished these guys up about an hour ago before before starting this live. So we still have a little bit to do on the rear hatch, which is what we'll do right now. But they fit beautifully. We are going to be doing some extra work on these, and Kelly, who's tuning into the video, he's got a wicked little secret that we're going to share. Maybe other people know about it, but that's how we're going to close some of these gaps and everything. But as of right now, everything fits amazingly well, and there's just a lot of work, but it's also a lot of satisfaction with stuff like this when you're dealing with it, because you have control over how it all fits, and it's but it is quite a process. Definitely requires a lot of modeling. So the last thing we did here on the hatch was, well, let's cover the hatch to begin with. So you start off on the hatch, you do your 2 back pins, which requires positioning. This kind of closes up the fuselage and tightens this area up. Then you do these other 2 back pins here, which is, they're like plastic nylon pins. You get that done. Then you move on to the front, and you move to your latches. So on here, what we've done is we've reversed the latches. So the latches are supposed to go on the hatch. Problem with doing it that way is when you install your hatch, if you put your latches on this side, every single time you go to put this hatch on, your pins are going to be contacting the fuselage, and then it's going to create a little mark here in the paint, which is no good. So we reverse these, we've put the latches on the fuselage, so they're here, and it just keeps everything nice and clean. And then the very last step is this centering hook, which kind of finished everything off, and just gets this portion all centered. Then what we did is we went one step further, and we added these fiberglass G10 tabs down here, and they interlock with these little slots. And what that did was there's a little bit of flex in the mid part of the fuselage in this hatch. So when we did those little interlocking tabs, now it tightens this up and we got it positioned perfectly. So there's zero overhang here. We do have our gap to fill more, which we will cover, not in this video, but in this build. But our flex here is basically zero. Before you could take the side of the fuselage and move it in and out, or the hatch, vice versa. So that's basically the hatch. The last step we need to do in the hatch is we need to high sol all of our things. So we've got all of our hooks on the actual hatch to high sol, and then we've got our latches here to high sol as well. So that's the first thing we're going to do right now. Just confirming. Which one's mine, Ward?
Yours is closer to your camera.
This one? So that's what we're going to do now, is high sol those guys. And then our next step is moving on to the underside or the bottom hatch. And I got the opportunity to, oh, there's the fly. Damn you, fly.
This is not a Breaking Bad episode.
There's two flies in here. Katie just watched the Breaking Bad episode with the fly. She came out and she's like, that's the stupidest episode ever. I thought it was hilarious. Okay, I can't remember what we videoed. I don't think we videoed this.
No.
Okay, so we got to video that portion.
Any other questions?
Okay, let me just do this part first. Hopefully the audio is working a lot better in this. There's always that back and forth. I think last time we put this on the camera, my external microphone, but I don't think the cable was allowing it to work with the iPhone, so it was just the iPhone thing. So anyways, I think this is a lot better. All right, guys, last step on the hatch here is we made some G10 tabs. Now these G10 tabs are on the side of the hatch, and those tabs interlock with these little channels right here that we made. Now what that does is that just creates support for the fuselage and the hatch, so this spacing right here always stays nice and tight and you don't get any movement in that location. So that is the final step on the hatch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mix up some high sol, and we're going to go in and we are going to take care of all of our little pieces that we need to permanently glue at this point. Question?
Carlton Davis asked, what's your thoughts on the Sweden 220?
There's probably, I'm assuming you're asking that because there's been some issues on the Sweden, sorry, itchy back. The Sweden 220, 240 series engines. So some are good, some are bad, basically. I had a 220 in my Diamond. I think my Diamond had 70 flights on it. And if we do some rough math, 7 times 8 is what?
100.
49?
7 times 8?
Yeah.
56?
50.
56. So my Diamond probably had 10 hours on it and never had an issue with that engine. We've had some 240s lately that have lost, and this is also for the guys in the US as well too, the other dealers like Bad Boys, and I don't talk to CRX, but anyways, the CRX guys are probably the same. They've lost some of the front compressor blades, so that's happened. I had mine in my Kinetics a few weeks ago, probably a month and a bit ago. It was July 1st, beginning of July. That had, I think, 20 flights on it, and it lost one of the rear blades, the turbine wheel blades. So I got the plane down safely and everything, obviously. But so there's been quite a few people that have had issues with that turbine, And one of the reasons for that is probably, and this is in my discussions with the Bad Boys guys, probably around the rear bearing. So the front bearing is a big bearing, the rear bearing is a small bearing, and there has been some issues. I still have a 240 in my Super Elan. It's been running flawlessly. The replacement engine in my Kinetics, that came from the factory. So when I had my issue with the engine, I shipped it back to the factory. They sent me a new engine, and there's been zero issues with that engine. It's got about 25 flights on that, the replacement engine now. So I still like them. I think they're awesome, but I know some guys are shying away from them because of these issues that have happened. Yeah, so that's kind of it. I don't really know a whole lot more than that. I hope that they upsize the rear bearing. I think that would probably take care of some of their issues, but I think that's probably the reason you're asking that question.
We've got greetings from Washington, from Robert.
Howdy from Washington. Thanks for tuning in. And it's been a long time since I've done a plane like this that required this much aero epoxy. We're already on tube number 2, and we're about a third left on tube number 2. And I think we'll probably end up using probably 2 more, I think, during this entire build. It adds up quick and gets used quick when you're installing all the formers and everything that needs to be glued in, which is everything in this case. So just mixing up the high sol, and we will go ahead and install this on everything. I'm going to do the latches first. So if you want to flip that guy over. So these are our pin latches that I'm doing now. So everything's been glued in place with CA, and you kind of want to wait to do the aero epoxy until you are 100% sure that you are happy with everything. Because once you do this, excuse me, any removal is a real challenge. I feel like I'm a surgeon. I'm a surgeon and Ward's a comedian. I was saying to Ward earlier, this is kind of the boring stuff of a build, is the fitting the hatches. Like, you know, you spend 3-4 days on just fitting 2 hatches, and it starts to get a little tedious, but that's the stuff that really pays off in the long run and really shows up on the final product if all of your lines are nice and tight. I guess you could equate it to building a nice car or doing a restoration on a car where all your panel lines and everything are tight and beautiful, and same kind of thing here. How you doing, Katie?
Getting hot, so I took my socks off.
I was wondering what you were doing. Katie took her socks off because she's getting hot. Probably because you look like you're dressed for winter. It was cold this morning, though. It was only like, I think it was 4 degrees when I got up. 4 degrees Celsius, which is 38. 4 degrees Celsius. 38 degrees. Wasn't very warm out this morning. Okay, so I'll do a little more on that side. It's not pretty, but you know where it's going? Nowhere. I'm also trying to keep it out of the spring so it doesn't interfere with anything. And then just before we flip this over, we'll just double check that everything is working, which it is. Okay, so that's those components. We will flip this guy back over. And now we'll do the hatch. So I'll do these guys first. And again, if you guys have any questions, make sure you ask. This is the time to ask the questions. You have my undivided attention, sort of.
Wow, it says it's 14 degrees in Tasmania, nearly spring.
That's weird that you guys are backwards. Or we're backwards from you. One of the two.
We were first.
Yeah, we had summer first. We are making sure that we go a little excessive on important parts of this build. And the reason we're making sure that we're a little bit excessive in the reinforcement areas and these kind of areas is this plane has very, very high speed capability with the way it's going to be built. So it will be severely overpowered, and we want to make sure that it is capable to deal with the overpoweredness. There's a fly on my head. So when we have the opportunity to do something a little bit stronger, a little bit better, we're making sure we do it.
Kelly says, super nice job on the Bandit, by the way.
Thank you, Kelly. That means a lot coming from you. I know you've built many of these aircraft. I have not built many of these aircraft. And they are a lot of work. They are a lot of work. They're fun though. It's definitely rewarding to be able to do actual modeling. I guess you'd call it that. I think that's appropriate. Rewarding to be able to do stuff like this, know every intricate detail of the aircraft, how it got built, how it got put together, how everything got glued. So it's definitely rewarding. That we're going to clean up a little bit. Because it doesn't need to be quite so goopy.
Pull my sleeves up.
Want to take your thing off? All right, I can't see if you can see me, but Katie's taking her shirt off. Bump chicka wah wah after dark. Bump chicka wah wah.
Okay, enough of the show.
All right, so we're gonna clean.
That was after 40.
Yeah, we're gonna clean this up.
From embarrassment.
No, it's just hot.
So there's also a point where you have too much high sol and it's not going to do anything. So we had some goopies in there, that much goopies. We just clean that up with a gloved finger, and that works good because we have a nice fillet there of material. This area right here, we're not going to clean those up. We're just going to, I have a real urge to clean them up, but we're not going to because it's just going to make a mess because it's such an uneven surface. So we'll leave those guys be, and then we'll have to mix up some more to put on our tabs here. We'll do that. And then we get to move on to the bottom hatch. Low on questions today.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet.
It's nice and quiet. Nobody's got any questions. That's good. Means we did our job last time. Answered all the questions.
They know everything. They know what you did.
No, everybody wants to ask about the radio test. That's all. Everybody who tuned in is like, he's going to tell us about the radio test. Nope. No way. When we got out to site this morning to do the radio test, everybody signed an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Nobody can give up the information. So don't try and contact Ward on Facebook and ask him for the information.
Get a spanking.
Okay, I'll try and get that behind there, but just a nice big glob holding the...
Arnaud says, nice to see you build a Bandit. What scheme do you have in mind?
Tomorrow's video is going to cover some of the scheme options that we've given to the owner. And so it's ultimately his choice, but he's very partial to red schemes. So that's probably what it's going to be. So 2 of the schemes that we got were red ones, and that's what we've been talking about already. So, but still open to options. So if you have a cool scheme, especially a red one, we are definitely interested in seeing it. The ones that are in tomorrow's video are ones that people have emailed to me at thelightersideofrc@gmail.com. So if you have one, that's where you want to send it, and we'll probably add it in the video. I thought I touched that with epoxy, but I did not. At least at this stage of the build, the whole thing's getting sanded anyways. There we go. Okay, so all of our stuff, those are done. Oh, we need to do our little tabbies at the back. So I should leave that on. Clean this up a little bit. So, I don't really know the best way to do this. Probably like that. That's awkward. Just hold that nose down if you would. Let's use our fabulous Flexi Spot table.
Oh, yeah, we discovered that today.
We were standing there and Ward accidentally pushed the button and I was like, what the?
Also, what?
I need to mix up some more because I used it all.
Nick says, good day to us from New Zealand. It's 1 o'clock there, Sunday, and bloody cold, minus 15 Celsius.
What?
tonight.
Jeepers. That is bloody cold. That's terrible. And good morning, Nick. Pretty soon. What?
1300 hours, that's 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Pretty soon, you guys will be complaining about how hot it is, and we'll be complaining about how bloody cold it is. All right, so this is the contortionist portion of the video.
Kelly says hi to Word too.
So these little tabs here hold the centerpieces on the hatch, and there's little plywood former or plywood supports that are CA'd on there just to hold them in the right spot, and then you have to go back and have to add aero epoxy to make sure they don't move anywhere. So that is what we're doing now. So one's done.
Near the mountains, that's why it's so cold.
How much snow do you guys get on average? Like, is there accumulations on the ground, or is it just cold? I know some places in the US, when they get snow, it shuts down the entire city because they're not used to it.
Cool Cat wants to know if they're hallucinating or if the fuselage is resting on two giant pink balls. Yes.
You are not hallucinating.
Two pink balls. This plane has balls. See?
Huevos grandos, whatever. All right, well, that's that. The pink balls come in handy. Oh yeah, I forgot I'm not allowed to burp because you guys can hear me. Don't have the power of editing in a live video. When in doubt, drink more Coke. All right, so that stuff is done. We're going to put the hatch over here in our parts department. So getting back to the manual, we are done the hatch stuff so far. So that's done, that's done, that's done. Apply aero epoxy to all hatch components. Done. Okay, so next thing is belly hatch mounting and center of gravity location. So, center of gravity location on this aircraft is going to be rear of where they actually suggest to put it. So, just finding my notes here. So the CG is 1 inch aft of the stock CG. And let's see what they say here about that.
Kelly says to give a shout out to Bjorn Glantz in Sweden. He's asleep but watches every show.
Yo Bjorn, how are you? I heard about your new acquisition today. Kelly sent me a message. I think it was a messenger message. So congratulations on your new acquisition. I think you gave away an A10 for something. A cool one, that's for sure. So they're wanting us to drill holes in the CG location. We're not going to drill holes in the CG location, so we're just going to skip that part. Okay, so the hatch has 4 pimples that locate the 4 screw holes. Start holes with a 1/16 carbide cutter, then make clearance holes with a number 43 drill. Nope.
Nick says he gets snow on the ground, mainly in the mountain though. Sister mountain is Mount St. Helens.
Oh, okay.
And then a question, do you ever have to thin high sol, and if so, what do you use?
I would never thin high sol. What I would do is, if we needed it to flow better into a location, I would use heat to thin it out. For finishing resin, or like if you're doing fiberglassing on a skin, heat works good. You can also thin it out with isopropyl alcohol. not isopropyl alcohol, mineral spirits basically. But for high sol and stuff, yeah, if you add heat, it's going to make it flow better, but it doesn't change the characteristics of the material. And usually it helps it kick off quicker as well too. So if you mix high sol from the container and then you apply it, it's probably going to start to firm up in an hour and a bit. If you heat it and mix it, heat it, it's going to flow better, but you'll probably find that it kicks off or starts to firm up in about an hour, so a little bit quicker than the standard setup. So.
Stacy says hi, and Kelly says heat is good to a point on high sol, but too much can make it stay rubbery.
Exactly, that's definitely a good point. If you, like Kelly said, if you heat it up too much, you'll find when it cures, it's flexible, and it almost feels like it doesn't cure 100%. So that's definitely a good point, Kelly. I often will heat my, because we're cold here as well, I'll often heat my high sol to get rid of the little clumps in it and such, but that's just adding a little bit of heat to melt the waxy bits. So.
Cool Cat says I've seen you spraying something on cyanoacrylate.
Yeah, good job. Well done.
What does that do to the bond?
So kicker.
Hey, I knew that.
Well done. Here, I'll show you guys what it does. Let's do a live demonstration. Need a bag here. Okay, so if we take if you take standard CA or cyanoacrylate and you put it on the bag right there, yeah, if you put it on the bag, it's really not going to do anything. It's not going to kick off. You can take that and you can try and stick something to it.
It won't dry over.
It doesn't dry. Over a period of time it does, but if we put that there, it doesn't dry, right? So this is medium CA, so it's kind of obviously the middle of the road. The more porous the material, the better it's going to kick off. If this was wood and the wood has moisture in it, CA kicks off with moisture. So if we take CA now, and so now we've got some CA on the piece of sandpaper and some CA on the bag, spray a little bit, it starts to kick off instantly, so it starts to cure instantly, and now it's stuck. Now it's not 100% cure, but what it does is it allows your part to stay in the right position. So this has actually peeled all the CA off the bag. So this is cured enough that it hardened it up and peeled it off the bag because it's not going to stick to the bag. But our joint here is cured. So that's what kicker does. You guys see me often use this. If I'm putting two pieces together, use this because it's quick. If I'm epoxying a piece of wood onto the side of something and you don't have the ability to clamp it, I will put the epoxy on there, get it in the right spot, put some CA on the top edge, use kicker on it, and wait 5 seconds, and then it's stuck. It's stuck enough that the epoxy can sit there and hold it and cure. So that's what kicker is. I go through a lot of this stuff because it's very, very handy. This particular kicker or accelerator is what it is. This is from HDP. There's a shot of it there.
It's not coming into focus. Oh, there. There, everybody can see
Good.
that.
And then the other one, I just won this at the event last weekend, so Zap Kicker. I've never actually used this, but I'm assuming it's the same thing. So, and if you have any stubborn stains, Kicker also takes that off as well. It takes care of stains. So I'll show you here if you come around this other side. So where we were marking our hatch latches right here, we use Sharpie to mark those out. So you could use rubbing alcohol to get rid of that, or if you take Kicker, spray it on there. gets rid of it all. So works good for that kind of stuff too, if you got stains on anything.
It says, yeah, with fiberglass uses methylated spirit to thin out as it evaporates pretty quick.
Yes. All right, so one of the things we want to change on the hatch, and I got to remember to record this in the video, is where our screws hold the hatch in place, we want to reinforce the area. So we've got a thin piece of fiberglass buildup, and then we've got our balsa backer piece. Now when we screw this in, it's eventually, because this thing needs to come on and off every time you put the wings on. So this is going to be a commonly removed part. So we want to reinforce the wood area for screw strength, basically. So we're going to tackle that probably first. I mean, we might get the hatch fit and then do that after. That's probably what we'll do. That'll make more sense. So we want to drill a 1/16 hole in those 4 areas, is what it says. And then we have to transfer the locations to the fuselage to locate the 1/8 inch plywood tabs. Now I don't see any plywood tabs. Let's go check our area. Oh, maybe right here. Oh, I have a sneaking suspicion those are our plywood tabs. I bet they are.
Nick says washers on each corner on the hatch, spread load, maybe?
I want it just to be screws from the exterior. So the reason I'm going to reinforce the underside of it, or the interior side, is number one, it ends up being invisible. And that's basically the primary reason. I don't want the washers to be exposed on the outside.
Could you put them on the inside?
Yeah, you can do that. Either way, you have to add more support there. Otherwise, the wood's just going to get, the balsa's just going to get crushed. Okay, so there's our 4 different tabbies. Okay, so we need our plane to grind those guys off. And that's not plane like this, that's plane like this. So right now these are little bumps that are sticking out from the hatch. So if we go to drill these right now, it's going to push our drill bit off to the side. So it's going to be better finished product if we do this, make them flat, and then
Well, you can see it better.
you can see it better, it'll center better. Now we know exactly where to put those guys. There's also a 5th one that holds the hatch on, that's center back, but we don't do that one right now. But we will get rid of the seam at the back, because that's where our screw is going to go. Okay, now we need to drill 1/16 holes. Of course, I don't know where my 1/16 drill bit went to. And bet you that's the 1/16 drill bit. Don't know where my calipers are. Oh my gosh, my shop is a mess. That's Ward. Ward, start putting stuff away.
Okay.
1/16 bit. All right, so we'll drill these guys out. Easy to drill because there's really not a whole lot of structure there.
Nick says, remember these things are good for 200 miles per hour, but it could be wrong. And what size turbine?
Well, the warnings here, if you come over here, Katie. So limit engine thrust to 90% of the total dry weight. Limit airspeed to 250 miles per hour maximum. So 90% of the total dry weight, this plane should weigh 23 pounds, which means that we should be installing a 120 Newton turbine-ish. Probably a 100 Newton turbine actually. Yeah, 100 Newton turbine would fit within those regulations.
Kind of small.
But
It's a pretty small plane, but we're probably putting either a Zykoy 185 in the plane. There is talk about putting a 235 in, but I think the 185 is going to be bananas. So that's probably what's going to end up in this aircraft. The other consideration is the pipe. So the stock pipe, it is not ultra flash quality, but it's a nice strong pipe. But the dimensions on this pipe really only work up to like a 190 size engine. This with a 235 series engine or 240 kind of engine, this pipe's too small. So that's what's going in it, probably. It's going to be pretty nuts. When it's in Canada, it will be flown at probably easily a 550 kilometer per hour plane. When it's in the US, it will always fly under 200 miles per hour. So.
Always. Kelly says he has an extra set of plans for you to put on the walls for the 233.
Oh, nice. Nez was destroying the Ultra Bandit plans today. She was over there scratching them and wrecking them.
Arnaud says 160 at sea level is perfect for it.
Yeah, that's also a big engine.
Kelly says a Sweden 300.
I don't even know if a Sweden 300 would fit in the bypass. Actually, it wouldn't. I think a 240 is even too big.
Arnaud says another consideration is fuel. There isn't much.
No, there isn't much at all. So, yeah, I think the 185 is a good combination for this thing. Okay, so the hatch is 4 pimples. We did that. Transfer 4 holes, locations to the fuselage to locate the 1/8 ply tabs. Glue tabs to inside of fuselage to receive the screws. What? All right. Sometimes when I read these instructions, they're too simple, but that's okay. Okay, so that's got to go there. Now we want to transfer the marks onto the fuselage. So we're going to use Sharpie. So this just helps us locate our tabs to make sure that we get the tabs in the right spot. And there's going to be one up here on the center line, but we don't need to worry about that one right now. So based on this, that should be the front one. This should be the other ones. Doesn't really tell you, but These should be the back ones. They should go like that. So yeah, they should fit in just like so.
And you can use you and the kicker. Medium or thin?
Medium.
Thick. That's thin. No. Orange. I'll get it right. There we go.
So in this type of thing is another scenario where we're going to use CA to get it initially glued, but then we will use epoxy afterwards. So this is another scenario where you can do this a couple different ways, but I like to use CA, hold it in place. There's a little bit oozing out around the edges. Don't need much kicker. It's more or less just to hold it in place. So within a few seconds, now it's stuck. So that is the reason we use that. And then if we go like this, our Sharpie marks disappear.
Kelly says, JD is watching this build from heaven and is smiling.
Ha! Nice, Kelly. That's awesome. Sure hope so. So not too happy with that. Just spray that. Okay.
Nick says, to higher thrust, you're going to wear your brakes as the residual thrust will be too powerful.
No way. No, it's one of the nice things about the Zykoy engines is thank you. One of the nice things about the Zykoy engines is they don't have a lot of residual thrust on the ground. But it should be okay. You're a wild man with that stuff.
I know what I can't help it. Just like
Ward right here. It goes right here.
Everywhere. Just want to make it a sticky situation.
All right, last tabby. You guys need to remind me to videotape this stuff.
Don't forget to videotape this stuff.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's like watching paint dry. Whew, look at that. Amazing. So now when we put the hatch on, it's probably going to be sitting up too high. Could be wrong.
Ooh, perfect.
No, it's a little high. That's okay. Because that all needs to be adjusted anyways. Okay, now we need to video the video. All right, we've moved on to the hatch as the next step in the manual. Very straightforward. First thing we've done is locate our 4 tabs, get those glued in place. They're quite specific. These ones are kind of big, oblong, funny looking ones. These are kind of the normal size ones. And then there's a bigger version of the normal size one that gets glued to the front edge here. So we've gone ahead and drilled out our hatch latch. Sorry, we've gone ahead, cancel that. We've gone ahead and drilled out the 4 pimples on our bottom hatch. And before I did that, I took a plane and just sanded off the little pimples so we had a little location to drill. And then we used a 1/16 drill bit to install those holes.
Kelly wanted to know how the weather was today for the test.
Today was nice.
Been extremely smoky in Kalispell.
Yeah, it's the smoke just started rolling in this afternoon. A couple days ago, it was crazy smoky to the point where we were going to bed and we had our windows open in the bedroom, and it was like somebody's having a fire outside of our bedroom door or window. So we closed the windows. Today, like when I look outside right now, I can see the orange haze outside. So it's more smoky, but it's nice here today. Yesterday was raining and crappy.
Yeah, I had to wipe the soot off the windshield.
Yeah,
It was like
we're getting ash up here.
ash, yeah.
So about Kelowna's like 9 hours west of us is Kelowna, BC, and there's lots of fires and people's houses getting burnt and stuff. So that's all happening right now, and that's I think where most of the smoke for us is coming from, and probably you guys too. Yeah, Yellowknife, so 15 hours north of us is on fire. Fires everywhere.
Kelly says you can't even see the mountains there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's so here, but of course it all depends on the wind, right? And as soon as the wind direction changes a little bit, it could be bad or good. So
It was beautiful this morning.
yeah, this morning was really nice. Cold, but
Nick says, mind you, the hatch edges can be stiffened with CA.
yes.
And it says it's interesting to watch a build rather than assemble for a change.
And it's funny because if you guys watched the first manual, I made sure I called this an assembly as many times as possible because we are assembling the aircraft. We're not building it. I find funny humor and stuff like that. So when people make these comments about, like, when I talk about building a F4 or whatever, they're like, oh, by the way, you don't build, you're assembling. It's like, okay, you're going to get into the semantics of all this. Well, I'm not building the Super Bandit, I'm assembling the Super Bandit according to the manual. So I find it funny when people focus on that stuff. It's just not important. But yes, it is. It is different watching this. There's so much more involved. Okay, so when this is screwed down, it's a really nice fit. This side here is sticking up a little bit. I kind of figured it would be because it's got a pretty steep angle to it, but we can sand that down. That's no problem.
William wants to know who your handsome helper is.
This is, I don't know. Where's my handsome helper? Who are you talking about? This guy?
On the chair, isn't she?
Yeah. This is Ward. Ward.
Yeah.
You don't sound very confident, Ward. So you guys want to know where Ward came from? I'm assuming you do. That's why you asked. So in 2017-ish, I think, we bought a gym. Something like that, like 6 years ago or something like that. And Ward's wife at the time, Toby is no longer with us, but at the time Toby was coming to our gym. and I think she got her diagnosis first.
Yeah, she dragged me there to go to the gym.
Yeah, so she ended up dragging Ward to the gym. And of course you get this macho husband showing up that doesn't want to have anything to do with group classes and you know, he's whatever. But he ended up joining the gym, coming on a regular basis, and we slowly became friends, but more just in the gym manner. And then one day I was going to an event on like the weekend for flying, and I had my planes in the back and I was teaching classes that morning. And Ward was in the first class or second class. He left, and then I think you came back in, and you're like, is that your snowbird in the back of it was in the back of the Armada? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, where are you going? So anyways, I told him that I fly airplanes and all this kind of stuff. And that's kind of where everything started. So that's where Ward came from. And gym ended up closing with COVID, and we're still friends, better friends now than we were back then, so.
I always liked turbines. For years, I've always liked turbines, but never could get into them because I didn't know anybody who was using them. So I found out John was into them, and wow, okay, can I come and watch? Just watch them fly, and just like, can I come and see how you put them together? And he said, come on down. So I go to this tight little garage that he had, and that's how I'm sitting there going, okay, we're stumbling over each other as he's building the planes, and just wanted to keep on learning. Then he did the evil thing. He got me into them. Start to fly.
So Ward started flying last year, I think, is when we started kind of doing it more serious.
Yeah, that's when I bought the...
So yeah, last year he bought a high wing Cub. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a high wing trainer. And he also bought a Habu.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hasn't flown the Habu yet. Still learning on the trainer. But we're taking baby steps, and he's doing really well.
I did my first 2 landings and takeoffs without
He
crashing.
did. Last weekend, he was at the event. First takeoff, first landing, solo.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything for you. That was good.
8 more without crashing, then I'm going to bring out my Habu.
No, then we take it off safe, and then you try flying it without safe.
Well, then I'll really have a lot of time.
And then Ward also did pick up a used Boomerang Nano from one of our local guys here. And that plane is actually sitting up in the mezzanine right now. Needs to be gone over. And we're probably this winter going to do a series on that. Might be 1 or 2 videos about getting a used aircraft and how to get it reconditioned for you flying it, basically, is what the premise is going to be. So. Cut polyply strip to fit between a ply tab and glue half of its width to the fuse inside ski. Don't understand that at all.
Kelly says, no matter what you call it, you're a craftsman, no doubt.
Huh. Thank you.
And Nick says, yeah, Kelowna was here a few years back as new people that had to evacuate. And he says, I surrender, it's an assembly.
Well, according to BVM, it is. All right.
Austin says, heck yes, I'm glad I caught the stream.
Oh, nice. Thanks for joining in. This is... Huh.
You want to put a handle on it?
Well, so what I'm looking at here basically is you've got 4 tabs in the back, you've got 1 tab in the front, and we're supposed to put polyply tabs back here on the fuselage side, but I'm wondering, do we put polyply tabs on the front? Because there's 0 support here. I think that would make sense.
Right here for sure, in the corners.
I'm surprised they don't have another screw there, but... Yeah, Kelly, what would you do? I need your insight. You should drive up here and help me.
I'll put some screws in the corners here myself.
Edgardo says, are there any requirements to operate a turbine in Canada? In the USA, is required to have a turbine waiver.
So in Canada, we have no rules as to operating a turbine aircraft. So in Ward's case, as an example, if his turbine Boomerang Nano was ready to go, he could go to our club and fly it if he felt like flying it. The only thing is he needs a spotter. That's our requirement. So no turbine waiver, nothing like that. We do have something called a TOC, which is a turbine operating certificate. Now the TOC is not a requirement in Canada. Going back a few years ago, if I had my TOC, I could go down to the US and I could fly with Mac and my TOC and be perfectly fit to fly down there. Now, there's no longer that mutual agreement at this current time between Mac and AMA. So you can still use, I think, your TOC down there, but you do need to be a Mac or an AMA member. The easiest thing for us to do is I joined AMA and I got my turbine waiver signed off. So, but up here we don't need the TOC. It's just one of those formalities if you want to go down to the US. So that's basically it. We don't have speed limits here as well. You can fly any speed you want. Currently our weight limit is 25 kilograms, which is like 56 pounds kind of thing. And used to be 76 or 77 pounds was our limit. And there was no LTMA 1, 2, anything like that. It was just your plane had to be under 77 pounds, 76 pounds, whatever the number is, full of fuel. We used to not have any height, altitude restrictions. A couple of years ago, we got a 700-foot limit, and currently our altitude limit is 400 feet. That's hopefully getting changed, but that is what it is this year. So that's kind of our current rules. They kind of suck this year, but that's what they currently are.
And also have to get a drone license.
Yeah, you need to get a drone license as well too, yeah.
Okay, so a couple things. Kelly said you would run polyply full length left to right on the fuse inside with about 4 millimeters exposed for the hatch to fit and rest on.
Okay.
And then
What about front and back, Kelly? Back, obviously, front, same thing.
And then he also wanted to know, is there anything to change on the Strega, or is it good to go?
Who asked that?
Kelly.
Oh, no, the Strega is good. We left the hatch off. Let's go out to the...
He said, so about half-inch strip, the width of the hatch opening and slit, half of it glued in the fuse and the balance exposed to support the hatch.
I don't understand.
Okay, well, we'll read that.
There's shoes for you. Going on a field trip.
Yeah, it is smoky out here.
Yeah, it is. I don't think you can... Yeah, if you look over there,
See it?
it's pretty hazy over there.
There, stick right over there.
Way in the distance.
Can't even see anything on the camera.
Yeah, you can kind of see it like way over there.
Yeah. So Strega-wise, so here's the Strega's home right here. For that last 5 flights, we just left the bottom hatch off and didn't seem to make any difference. But the reason we left the bottom hatch off is just because there's so much easier to access. Well, yeah, there's, I don't know, 20 screws to open this up to make any adjustments on the carbs. So we just left that off. Seemed to work fine. For the first couple flights, our temperature sensors that we put around the heads from Jetty, they weren't working, and now they are working. I don't know why, they just started working. So there's really nothing to change other than we only got 5 We only got 5 flights on it because we ran out of fuel, actually. That's the first time I've ever run out of my container of gas in a year. Usually I never fly my gassers. And so yeah, we used all 10 liters of fuel, which was good. And next time we go out, we're gonna get some more flights on the Strega and hopefully burn through 10 more liters of fuel. So as of right now, we've got 6 flights on the aircraft. And if you watch that last video, she's flying a lot better. It's actually becoming more fun. I know the last video we kind of did little snippets on flight numbers 4, 5, and 6. But on flight number 5 and 6, I was going up and doing some slow rolls and barrel rolls and stuff, starting to load up the prop a little bit more. When I was making my turns, I was doing more vertical just to get more load on the engine, and she's responding very well. Still needs tuning, but it's overall working awesome, working really well. I'm also happy with the battery setup too. So we've got just the two cell lipos powering everything in the aircraft. So 2 of them go to the central box, 1 splits off to the ignition, the other one splits off to the landing gear, and it's working perfectly. And then we've got the 3rd standalone battery for the ignition system, or the remote starter system, and that is also working beautifully. So as the engine starts to loosen up, the starter's also struggling less to keep going. So just watch Inez if you open the door.
So I've just got a bunch from Kelly for the...
Oh, for the hatch?
Yeah.
Get going, Inez.
Rezzy.
Go ahead.
Handle pick up the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be back here more.
Rezzy Nez.
I think you're talking about putting a strip here, and strips here.
Okay, so I'll read that over. He said basically what you did for the Strega.
So all
he said,
the way around.
Polyply full length left to right on the fuse inside with about 4 millimeters exposed for the hatch to fit on the rest. So about 1/2 inch strip the width of the hatch opening and split half of it glued in the fuse and the balance exposed to support the hatch. So basically a long tab for the hatch to rest on, and yes, I would do it all the way around.
Okay.
Just like you did for the Strega.
Okay.
But use poly, not carbon, unless you have some carbon sheet.
And then the other question, Kelly, because you've done so many of these things, do you do just 1 screw on the front, right there? I suppose that's probably fine because it's going to have pressure pushing in, and if we have polyply all the way around, that should be fine. I'd just be more inclined to put 2 more screws at the front there.
I would just have
So, but you got to remember that those screws are also coming off every single time you fly the plane.
Yeah.
So that's the only downside, right? And yeah, it's only 2 more, but it's just like the Strega. It's like, okay, well, I could use 8 screws or I could use 26 screws, right? Nizzy.
Klaus says hi.
Hi, Klaus. I just need to...
Nick says, here you need a wings, badge, flight test, and turbine endorsement, and large model certificate permit if over 15 kilograms. No speed limit, and limit height is 400. And you
Ouch.
can apply to go higher.
That doesn't sound very fun, Nick. Maybe I won't come visit you.
Ectosmok says hi.
Hey, Joe. Joe, thank you for your help today. Joe came and helped out with the turbine test. We're going to do a little bit of noise here, so just give us a second. That fits better. All right.
says you could hear the difference through the flights.
Yeah, big time.
Strega.
Yeah, it made a big difference.
And Edgardo says, thanks for the info. Nez is trying to climb on me. Oh, there she goes. I'm very happy for you flying the Strega. How much time does the engine need to be considered fully broken?
So the manual says it should be broken in about 20 to 25 runs. We've got 5 flights on it. Runs, we've got, I mean, if you're including like starting it up and running it on the ground for a few minutes, then we probably have 15 runs, but I would say flights is probably more appropriate, so maybe 20 flights. But we do need to order replacement plugs in soon, because when you get to that break-in point, when it's done breaking in and you're transitioning to non-break-in flying, that's when you need to change the plugs. So the engine kind of starts running like crap. You change the plugs, check the valve clearance on it, and then you should be good to go. And then you need to check the valve clearance every X number of flights. I think it's like 15 or 20 flights or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but that's what they're recommending. So.
Okay. Yes, I can't hold you in.
So I'm thinking if we put a piece also glued onto the hatch, that slips in, and that's going to prevent the hatch from coming out on that side, and then this part
Kelly
here.
says at those speeds he would do 3.
Yeah, so 1 on each front corner too. Okay.
And then I'm quiet on the audio.
Yeah, it's because
Right here.
it's only picking up from right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the downside of using this setup, is you can hear me really well because the microphone's here, but you can't hear Katie very well.
Nick says with large models, you are virtually, get a permit to fly and has to be progress inspected by inspector, similar to a permit for microplates.
That's a lot of work. What's the inspection like, Nick? Is it a easy inspection? Is it a hard inspection? Just gonna fire up the other mic here and just make sure it works. Look at that, eh? I'm gonna mic you up.
Get it mic'd.
Yeah, Katie is mic'd. Here, now you can hear you. Don't burp because they can hear you.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be better on there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'll make another tab then out of
Kelly
ply.
says 1 in the center and 1 at the corners and 1 on each side down the middle. Total 8 maybe. The Super Bandit has that inlaid balsa whereas all the Bandits I did, it was just fiberglass and flexed.
Yeah, this hatch is a lot stiffer. So I think what we're going to do is we'll add 2 more in the front corners. So then we've got 2, 1 in the center, 1 on each side, in the back, and I think we'll be good with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, let's add 1 in the center too, because that's kind of flexy.
Give it a little bit of strength.
Except there's no ply there. No, we'll just do 2 in the front, and we'll call that good. I'm thinking.
Well, if you're going to put those strips on.
Yeah, the strips are going to help
Sure,
everywhere
so that
too.
would be
Yeah,
better.
exactly.
Austin says if he wins the lotto, he'll buy lav mics for everyone.
Nice. Nezzy fur on you?
I got Nez hair on me.
Yeah, these DJI wireless mics, holy thumbs up. They are absolutely awesome. Nezzy.
Oops. Kelly says, yes, you can do it like it slides in, like a tab, which is how we did ours, but we did not have balsa on the hatch.
Yeah.
Cool Cat says, I want you to mic up Nez, the cutie pie, so we can hear her snuffling. If she gets close enough, I've got Nez hair on. Let's see. She's reading the instructions.
Oh, and last night she would not leave me alone.
It was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Jonathan would bring her inside and try to sneak back into the garage. She would follow him and just cry at the door. Then he'd bring her back inside, put her somewhere in the house, and then she'd run after him to get to the back door, and it was comical.
Yeah, she was driving me bananas yesterday.
I think she needs a GoPro on her or something,
I think that would make people sick.
especially when she bounces off the walls. Literally.
Yeah.
Nick says, fuselage before covering up the wings, before cover up, and then final inspection, which is done by large model SIG inspector.
Huh.
More or formality, extra pair of eyes type of thing. Kelly says, yes, that'll be good. What will happen is the hatch will or can flutter under high speeds, but again, that was with not as stiff a hatch.
Yeah.
And Klaus has 2 crazy cats as well.
Yeah, see this setup here with the balsa built into the whole thing and there's fiberglass on top is, like if this was just fiberglass, you'd be able to fold it all over the place. This is nice
What is she
flexible.
drinking?
Nez,
Ew.
there's like fly water. Buddy, don't drink that. I know you're just a cat, but that's pretty gross.
She eats some dog food.
Ew. It's like dust water from me dusting the plane. Is that good? No.
Nick says, I don't think it's going to get flutter with that sucker. Seen a couple of those. Nez knows she's a star. Yeah.
Yep.
Cat cam.
She stole the show.
Klaus says one of his cats is lazy. The other one does cocaine.
That sounds about right. In the mornings when I get up early sometimes, Nez is waiting for me at the stairs and then some mornings she's bouncing off walls. It's
Like she
nuts.
literally bounces off the wall.
Yeah, it's like parkour cat. Runs down the hallway, jumps against the wall, bounces off the wall, down the stairs. Ugh.
Cool Cat says, did you see the picture of Nez in the cockpit of the Mustang?
Yeah, there you go.
It was super cute. The cat cam was Susie's idea.
Nice. Okay, so I think hatch-wise, I think that is good.
With Nez, Ward's got some competition.
Yeah. Here, buddy. Okay, so pretty straightforward now. Next thing we'll do is the ply hat or poly ply pieces. Don't know how much I have of this stuff, so we'll have to see.
Did you bring all of them over?
Yeah. Need some skizzers. There they are. Okay, so these guys just need to sand one surface, so it's rough.
Got
some there. Okay.
Nick wants to know if you put carbon on the hatch to stiffen it up more, or no?
No, it's already really, really stiff with the balsa built into it.
Rough this up. So you know.
Yeah, a little more if you can.
More?
Yeah.
Cool Cat says his cat used to travel 50 yards to drink out of a stagnant pond despite having fresh, clean water in a bowl.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Kelly says, how long does it take Nez in makeup before the live show? She's got a lot to do to get ready. She's very high maintenance.
A lot of fur to clean. And a hairball or two to throw up.
Cool Cat says roughing up a surface to glue is called keying, apparently.
Excellent. Ward,
Yeah.
could you key these surfaces for me, please?
Sure. It's the key to my life.
Now we need some more for the sides. We don't have enough here, so I got to get some more. Go in the tickle trunk. That's what I'm looking for right there. The good stuff, the carf stuff. Look at that stuff, eh? And saving that for just this build.
Velocity Addiction said, just got home from our second club night fly-in. Had a blast.
Nice. There we go. Ward, could you key these for me, please?
What? Double hinged or?
I'm trying to make sure I remember the new word.
New word for the day?
You gotta use it to remember it.
Are you going to video to say that you're putting the
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
polyply?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. All right, hatch time here. We're going a little above and beyond what is recommended in the instructions. Instructions call for two, and a single tabby. We are putting 2 more tabbies on the front, so the front corners. Polyply, we are running the polyply all the way around the perimeter. So it's going to go 1 big piece back here, 2 little pieces, 2 big pieces, 2 smaller pieces, all the way around. So that's the next thing we're doing, is getting these guys glued in place. Now we'll just glue these in place with some CA, and then we will use some high sol later on when we are ready to glue everything for the day. Thanks for the reminder, honey.
Kelly is asking, do you have BVM sanding sticks?
The only sanding sticks I have
Eric says tickle trunk. Haha, that's a good Canadian reference.
Apparently I can't find my sanding sticks. Not there. There they are. These guys, the map ones. So there's like 4 tubes in there. These ones aren't open because I've got an open pack over there.
Nick says, for those that are having trouble getting carbon, go to your local car wrecker, as airbags are either made of carbon, carbon Keller, or a mixture of both.
Really? I didn't know that.
So then you can go and just get an old airbag and like strip it or something.
I don't know. I didn't even know that.
Usually they have them ripped out of the cars in the wreckers. A lot of times the airbags are ripped out. Okay.
Thank you, Ward. You can stay.
Ooh. Is that like I got mail?
Mm-hmm. All right. I kind of think we should use some thick stuff here because we've got some fairly large divots. Almost running out of thick CA. So as mentioned, these guys here, we will just use CA to glue them in place with some kicker. And then we will come back and install aero epoxy all around. So I really liked reading in the BVM manual about batch gluing. It made a lot of sense to me, where you do a bunch of things one evening or in a session of build time, and then you come back and you batch glue everything. So it's a great example in this, where you can get all these tabs installed, and then at the end of the day, you just come in and aero epoxy all your pieces, and then by tomorrow, everything is glued and happy.
Cool Cat says, I know that airbags can be made of Kevlar, but didn't know that they have carbon in them too. And Dragon Killer says, yeah, they can't refurbish them, and they are carbon-infused Kevlar cloth.
That's cool, I had no idea. Those little pieces of knowledge. I keep hearing it beeping.
I know, I don't know what that is.
You hear it too? It's like around a regular basis. Beep, beep. Weird.
Edgardo wants to know if you're going to modify some portions of the Bandit building procedure to make it better.
Yes, I've definitely been doing that on a regular basis. One of the things that you'll see in tomorrow's video is, if you can come in on this side, Katie, this side here. So these channels right here, as an example, you'll see this in tomorrow's video. These are aluminum channels that receives the wings. The stock channels are these plastic nylon ones here. So these are what's supposed to be in the kit. We've upgraded this to aluminum, which obviously is much stronger and is going to provide a better holding power than these guys. So lots of little changes like that. There's nothing grandiose about it, so we're not like making a big list saying here's all of our changes. It's just little things as we go through the build that either the owner knows because the owner has owned a ton of these aircraft, guys like Kelly who have also built many of these aircraft, so just people's different knowledge that we can all learn from.
Dave Felder says, Ward, how was your day at the office?
Crud.
From Leave It to Beaver.
Oh, good, good. Beat the beaver every day I can.
Kelly says, when I do the glue, the batch glue, the last thing I do is wipe down the fuse or wings or whatever parts I'm working on so as to not leave high salt on the smooth surface with alcohol.
Good suggestion, Kelly. Thank you.
Jonathan's deep in thought here.
I am. I already glued my fingers to the first one, so I'm trying not to do that again.
It becomes a very sticky situation.
Sure does. Well done.
It just was put in my lap. I couldn't turn it away. Just have to stick to it.
Wow. You're full of them, eh?
Dad jokes.
All right, last three.
I hear a helicopter.
Me too. Maybe they're coming to take me away.
Kelly says he always seems to leave a fingerprint in the glue.
Don't we all? Play with CA and I can never get away without gluing my finger to something. Yeah, without kicker, bringing back the kicker discussion again, this step here would be terrible.
Dragon Killer says, gotta thank the military for super glue.
Yeah.
And Nick says, no matter what you do with CA, it will get you.
It's my go-to when I cut myself in the shop. I just use glue now. It's just easier. Oh, I think that's a finger sticker. Nope. All right, one more. Get out of there, little fly.
Must have fly.
Oh, now he's dead.
Arnold says, use thin CA. It's more entertaining pulling the airplane off your hands. Kelly says, that's an awesome job on the hatch. Exactly correct.
Thank you, Kelly.
Dragon Killer says, just don't use kicker when gluing a cut.
Yeah, I know that. It gets real hot, real quick. Well, you put the kicker, the CA on there, then you spray kicker on it, and it makes it. It's an exothermic reaction, right? So it gets real hot, real quick. It burns.
But doesn't that stop the bleeding?
Yeah, it just cauterizes it instantly.
The burn.
Could you use water?
I usually just breathe on it because the moisture from your breath will set it off. Let's see how our high sol's doing. Still tacky. All right, there's our hatch stuff. Look at that, eh?
Awesome.
Now, part of me, I'm going to take a file and I'm going to round off these edges because those sharp edges don't make me very happy. That is beautiful. That is really
Boy,
nice.
that's stopping everything.
Very strong. Yeah, that's great. That's going to be wicked. So,
Cool Cat says cyanoacrylate was discovered accidentally by a chemist, but it was unitized for medical purposes as an alternative to sutures by U.S. military medics.
could you imagine just discovering something like that by accident? You just happen to mix
You
up
mix
some
some
chemicals one
all
day
of
and
a sudden
like
you're stuck to the
you
table.
touch it, yeah, and you're like, what the? That's funny.
Kelly's asking if a scheme has been decided for the Bandit, but not yet.
Tomorrow's video, nothing's been set in stone yet, but tomorrow's video, I think there's 5 schemes that you guys can vote on. But I know Mr. Jet Guy really likes one of the 5 that we've suggested so far. So, all right, guys, we have glued all of our polyply strips in all the way around the hatch, and this really finished everything off nicely. So it is very stiff now. None of the areas flex in at all, and this is perfect. So what we need to do is drill these 3 front holes out, and that's a great next step, and then we'll get our screws figured out for this. But that finishes off the main hatch. Yeah, I think, I was going to show you on my phone, but you're on my phone, so I can't really show you. Oh, I need to do the reinforcements for the hatch. That's what I was thinking about. So we'll drill our other holes. So we'll drill these 3 holes, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. So I think what I'm going to do here is we will get rid of the wood, right? So just sand out the wood, and then we'll fill this with maybe epoxy. Actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll get rid of the wood in a circle and then fill that area with high sol. And then when it cures, then the screw won't pull through. We could also take that one step further and put a washer in there and then put high sol in there. So one of those 3 things will work beautifully.
Pretty flush already.
Cool Cat wants to know what you would utilize PVA for.
Polyvinyl acetate? I don't know.
Or what you utilized it for?
PVA. Like, oh. I don't have any PVA. I thought it was a filament for my 3D printer, but no, it's not. I don't even know what that is. So tell me, what is PVA? Because Katie has my phone, so I can't ask Siri. Yeah, what is that beeping? Beep, beep.
I don't know.
Sounds like it's like outside. Weird.
And some of the stuff you got today on your front porch.
Hey, maybe it's a bomb. Okay, so this one is on the, got it? Center line. Let's just hold.
Dragon Killer says, isn't that a mold release agent?
I don't know.
And Kelly saw that David posted 4 perfect flights on his F4 you built down at LA Jets.
And it's Hawk. I think that's what you meant to say.
Arnold said, that's the fire alarm, low battery alert. Good luck finding that one.
You know, we had one in the house for a few weeks and we finally changed it because it's like 25 feet up in the air. All right, so now we need to figure out what we're going to do with this hatch reinforcement. PVA glue, that's what it is. Thanks, Ward.
You're welcome.
So, I just heard it again.
You should go on the hunt for the...
It's like, I think it's outside.
Open the door and see if it's out there.
It's bugging you?
Well, yeah, I can hear it. It's getting louder and louder. You still hear it?
I don't hear it.
Yeah, it's not outside. You're too old, Ward.
I hear the buzz of the lights.
Cool Cat says, I use PVA polyvinyl acetate for most of my joints in my balsa and plywood builds. I'm wanting to ask you about all of the adhesives you use because most of them I've not heard of prior to watching. Arnold says, PVA, yes, is a mold release agent. Polyvinyl alcohol.
Yeah, and see, I've never used PVA for anything, so. But pretty much like most of my stuff that I use is going to be either CAs for just temporary gluing or aero epoxies. That's pretty much it. Sometimes we use Gorilla Glue for certain things because it expands, but generally it's different epoxies with different additives built into it. So
It's excellent for book binding and stuff like that, so it really wouldn't be strong for,
it's like clear glue, like wood glue.
yeah, it's,
Kelly says, we left one of the radios on from the test.
No, because we would hear it in here.
Maybe it's upstairs.
Yeah, in Vienna's room. Did you turn your radio on today?
no,
Oh, yeah, it's over there.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be one of those because we would hear it. It'd be louder in here. It's like up there somewhere.
Dragon Killer says, that is what I thought, mold release for fiberglass work.
So I'm a little stumped on how to get this stuff cleaned out.
Cool Cat says, PVA dries clear, water-based, and relatively safe.
Are you trying to countersink these screws? Is that what you want to do?
No, so the point of what we're doing is, so if you take this hatch
Yeah.
and you screw it down, the fiberglass is quite thin. So because there is balsa underneath here,
Yeah.
that fiberglass is going to squish.
Okay.
So you do up the screws, you undo the screws 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. This hole is going to be squished in, and that hatch is no longer going to be supported properly.
Okay.
So the point of all of this is to replace the balsa underneath with something more solid. So when this gets screwed in, the screw is now trying to squish that solid piece versus just squishing the balsa and making it disappear.
So you can use a washer or else just use
Well, basically, no, not CA.
Or,
Basically, get rid of the material in this area
With something stronger.
with something stronger. Because if you put CA and it soaks into the balsa will get a little bit stronger, but it's not strong enough to prevent it getting squished.
So just put some epoxy glue in it.
Well, yeah, I've got to figure out a nice clean way to get rid of that first. That's my confusion. That is the conundrum.
Edgardo wants to know when you're expecting to start the paint job.
Oh.
When all the paint scheme suggestions will end. And if you picked it out yet.
Paint job, probably, it's going to somewhat depend on projects that we've got coming up. The Super Bandit may get shelved for a little while, depending on what comes. So we're waiting on the Carf Rebel, the normal size Rebel, which should be here next week. When that Rebel shows up, the Super Bandit will get put aside. If we finish the Rebel and we are needing something to do, then the Super Bandit will continue. The T33 will start as well too. But we're waiting on quite a few projects from Skymaster, some big projects. So whenever that container shows up, this plane will get shelved for a while until those other projects are complete or very near completion. So it's going to be a bit of a on and off thing. I don't know exactly when we're going to paint this. I suspect it'll probably be later this year is when we'll finally get there. So that's kind of the timeline for it. So looking for scheme ideas, probably until a couple weeks before we paint it, we need to start organizing material. So we've got time. I think we just do it the old-fashioned way and sand it down. The balsa is going to disappear pretty quickly.
It says, got reaction 54 planned, so we'll be scratch building that as postage from the States is killer. Also going to do Enforcer and refurbish AMD Hawk.
Nice.
Yeah, that spit was great. SCA, not very tasty. Dragon Killer says, Dremel to the rescue.
Yes, exactly.
Kelly says, are you trying to use countersink type screws? And Nick says, cap screw with wide flange.
I think probably something a little bit more attractive. I don't know if we're going to use countersink screws because those may not last. Oh, there we go. That's the ticket. Those may not last very long. So this is exactly what we're looking to do. Right, the balsa is not strong. We also soaked in CA around the perimeter, but that only goes in so far. So yeah, I just wanted to get rid of the balsa like that. So now if we do use countersink screws, they'll have more support. If we do use button head screws, they'll have more support. Make sure you never cut towards yourself. You always want to cut towards your ward. No Dremel to the rescue. Exacto blade to the rescue.
Yeah, I don't think a Dremel would do good.
Well, I think it'd be less clean. That works out really well, actually. That's exactly what I was hoping for. And it's nice that the fiberglass is thick enough that the blade doesn't just slice through it.
Don't cut towards you.
All right, I'll cut towards my ward. Center one.
Kelly says, I know what you're going through. I finally went to buttonhead Allen small screws.
Yeah.
David says, PVA example, Pacer 500 canopy glue, glue plastic to wood, covering, paint, etc.
Yeah.
Kelly says, I would only use Allen on those screws. You need to remove all the screws that you need to remove all the time. Saves slipping of a Phillips screwdriver and scratching the paint.
Yeah.
David says, correction, Pacer Formula 560 canopy glue.
Yes, 560. Yeah, the little Phillips screws, the countersink ones, great for like hatches where you're never taking them off, for sure. But as we've discussed already, this thing is on and off and on and off and on and off, so probably just use servo screws, like RTL fasteners, servo screws type thing. A little bit ugly, but they work. They're easy to take on and off over and over and over again.
David says, to reinforce thin holes, you can glue in a short brass sleeve cut from tubing.
Ah, yes. Good point. That actually makes a lot of sense because we do the same thing with in the construction industry when we're going through something that like foam when we've got a foam exterior and we've got to mount a sign, for example, you just put a sleeve in there, a metal sleeve, and then the sleeve takes the crushing force. That's an awesome idea.
Kelly says, servo screws for the win.
Exactly.
Nick says, whatever works, eh?
That's right, B. I say that because that's what Patrick kept saying to me when I was in the US.
What?
That's the joke.
A?
Canadians always say A. So when you say A, they always say, that's right, B. A, B.
Oh, I get it.
Now you get it?
Yeah. I was slow there.
The guys from Australia, it's C. That's the polite way. Australians usually go nasty.
All right, so that is what we are looking at. Video number 2. All right, last step in the hatch here, we need to reinforce our screw locations. So took an Exacto blade, we just cut out the balsa. This is actually really easy. Racking my head over how to get rid of this material and just take an Exacto knife and cut it out. It's quite easy. So we're gonna fill these areas now with probably some high sol. We're gonna let that cure and then we'll be able to sand these down to make the hatch fit perfectly. But what that's doing is it's just adding support to this area for the screws and when the hatch sits against our tabs.
Nick says he's spoken Canadian.
That's right.
Well, that's how you remember. C-A-N-A-D-A.
D-A. And it's been 2 hours.
And Kelly says, Canada says A, America says B, and Mexico says C.
No, Canada or America says y'all.
Y'all.
Y'all come back now, you hear? All right, well, that's 2 hours, guys. That's crazy. It always amazes me how quickly the time flies during these lives. So that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning into the live video, the live stream. Tomorrow's video is Super Bandit. Wednesday's video is radio test. Those comments on the radio test, I already know there's going to be people that are very butthurt about that radio test. It is what it is. I don't like that saying, but it truly is what it is. We'll all be shocked at the results, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you probably in a week or two when we do our next live. Take care.